Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you are watching or listening to the Global Sales Leader podcast. I'm your host. I'm a sales trainer coach. I have a wonderful special guest. He's been around for a number of years, and we're going to be speaking into some deep areas of his background and what he's doing today. So I'm always very excited because I'm always very excited to speak to some wonderful people with an eclectic background. And he's also very intriguing. So I'd like to really sort of deep dive into his history. So, Bernardo, welcome.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I call some friends of mine very special. So I didn't know what that meant, but I'll take it as a compliment. I'm only joking.
Yeah. Well, some of them are really special, and some of them
Really
even more special than others. But I, I'm also very intrigued with you because I've been following you a number of years. Like you have an eclectic background, an eclectic business background. So let's start with look. I've taken your bio from LinkedIn. So you've got some wonderful website, thebestofyou.co, the Best of You Expo. That's a deep dive into that. And you have your own website. You're the founder of that, and your platform is really to help people with some essential skills, knowledge, and wonderful wisdom. And the way I look at this podcast, it's all about giving golden nuggets back to people so they can, it's all about sharing and learning with some wonderful knowledge that can help other people in their lives. That's the way I like to see it anyway. So that you've trained and you have entrepreneurs like Paul McKenna. I don't know. Oh, you can't actually see that in my shots. So let me just change my screen so you can see my backdrop a little bit better. So, you've worked with Paul McKenna, the legendary Richard Bandler, John Lavelle, all the experts in their field of psychology, neurolinguistic programming, and lots of other different areas and wonderful areas. So, Bernardo, just give us a little bit of background about yourself and sort of your anchor points along the way, which made you the man of who you are today.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's the best you, not the best of you. I love it. A lot of people tend to add the off it. It can be the best of you, the best you can be, but the brand is the best you.
Best you. I do apologize. I had one of those songs in my head.
It's fine. People tend to add that. Some people, but it's fine. It's all good. It's all about becoming the best version of yourself, and it came from the idea of creating a platform that could help connect all those great thinkers, authors, leaders together with those people that were looking for answers. That's kind of where the best you came from. But look, my background, I was born in London, but brought up in Spain, in the south of Spain. Both of my parents Spanish, so I managed to keep the English language going, and I was I'm bilingual. I do consider myself Spanish in many ways, although my approach to business and might be English a little bit more than Spanish. But I kind of brought up in Spain. I've always been very entrepreneurial. My dad unfortunately passed away when I was 15, and so I've always had that sense of responsibility even before that, and that's just been part of who I am. I've always had that spirit and that idea of being my own boss and managing my own future. I've worked for people, I've worked for quite a few people. I've done everything. I've been a DJ, worked in bars. I've been working in a rent-a-cars. You name it, I've done it. But I've always had that sense of being an entrepreneur. So my original background before my previous life, as I call it, I was in real estate, pretty much doing anything and everything from timeshare, inviting people to timeshare resorts, selling timeshare, running sales teams in timeshare, running big developments with 100, 200 salespeople. So and then eventually I started developing, refurbishing, building, redecorating, and then selling international real estate. So I've done pretty much anything and everything in real estate. But I kind of what got me into what I do today was actually, funny enough, Paul McKenna's book, Change Your Life in 7 Days. Now, I've always been very interested in personal development. I read lots of great books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and Sharon Lecter, and Brian Tracy. And I used to listen to tapes of Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn. I still listen to him still now, and so many greats. But NLP really got my attention, and that's what got me on the path of saying, you know what, I want to learn more about how to engage and communicate and build rapport, because I thought I understood and knew communication. I did a lot of sales training when I was young, a lot of sales training. By the Americans, learning how to close and, and mirroring people and all that. But NLP really got my attention, and I wanted to learn more, do more, and that's it. I got hooked. I became a practitioner, master practitioner, a trainer, and then listen, I had an opportunity. Serendipity. I'm a great believer in that, and I had the opportunity to get involved in promoting them. And that was happening at the same time as my real estate company was literally going under with that big real estate bubble that I didn't believe.
Was that in the 2000s, or was that in the?
Yeah, it was the 2000. Yeah, absolutely. So it caught me in Spain. I had a fairly large real estate company, and I lost it all completely for the second time, and I wanted to do something different, and that's how I got into running, promoting, working events, working with Richard Bandler, working with Paul McKenna.
Wow, so you've done a huge amounts of learning, and I'm very impressed by that. And I think once you get onto the learning ladder, you get consumed by it, but it's also good to give it back as well. What was sort of the anchor points along the way that made you went, bang, I've got to get into this a little bit more? What was the thought process that you had?
What, to get into personal development?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I went into personal development because I did it selfishly, not selfishly. Yes, it was really because I wanted to get my team to become better communicators, and I thought that NLP was going to give me the skills that I needed. So I really did it for them, for me, but for them, and I wanted to teach them kind of the skills to bring me more sales. But then I was standing in the middle of the room, day 2, day 3. I'm 35, 37. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why am I learning these skills now? This is absolutely ridiculous. So that's it. I knew instantly at the end of day 7, when I finished my practitioner, that I wanted to get involved in the personal development world personally. I wanted to become an author. I wanted to write books. I wanted to do something with a bit more meaning. Plus, also, my real estate was literally going down. So everything that I owned was literally disappearing underneath my feet. So what made me get into what I needed? Food, hunger, need. That's what got me. I mean, it was a tough decision. I mean, my family and I, we were living in Spain. I had a lovely house, and I commuted for the first 3 years from London to Spain, from Spain to London. And I worked literally Monday to Thursday in London and flew back on a Friday. And I did that for 3 years. Sometimes I would spend more time in London. Sometimes they flew over. It was very, very tough. And I left my kids when they were 15. And probably an age when they needed me most. So, kind of like it was a tough call, but it's the call I had to make. But it was my passion. I think, once I knew the power of NLP and I understood, how necessary personal professional growth is and how important it is to continue to learn, I thought, well, I want to continue to do this. And obviously working with Richard Bandler, Paul McKenna, and, I think in total over the 10, 11 years, I put NLP life training on the map. I mean, Richard Bandler was already in the map. I'm not going to take any credit for it, but I did position him globally. I mean, my company, NLP Life Training, was the largest NLP training organization in the world. We did much bigger events than he did in the US himself. So kind of we really put NLP. We've been flying people from all over the world to do his trainings. I think 25,000 people in total. I put through his seminars and events and all sorts of events. But, so learning from him, working with him, seeing the impact of personal development. But then again, I started identifying, because NLP is about modeling excellence, I started identifying that there's so much more to learn and so much more to present. So I came up with the idea of the best you, but the idea of the best you was based on the essence of NLP. It's not an NLP company, but it's based on the essence of NLP, the study of excellence, how do successful people do what they do, and what are those, and how do they do it? So then, I literally created this brand with the intention of having hundreds of speakers, not promoting 2 or 3 like I was doing with Richard and Paul and John. I wanted to have hundreds, and if I look backwards now, which makes it look easy and simple, so far I think it's 1,000 speakers I've promoted, 70,000 people have attended all the best you expos that we've done and everything else. So I've done a few things, I think, in these last 10 years.
You've done a couple of things there, and I love the way of modeling excellence. But by the sound of it, you sound like a naturally gifted salesperson. But you've actually put a lot of work in being successful. And what are the key elements of a success in sales? Because you're basically fundamentally you're selling your platform, you're selling other areas of exhibitions when we used to have exhibitions before this COVID stuff that went along. So you've obviously worked hard at that. So what really makes sort of a gifted sales leader and a salesperson that has that success behind it? Because you've obviously got something there. I can see the halo above your head.
Thank you. Look, I think it's self-belief, and obviously, being a visionary. And being a visionary means that you have to visualize. For me, it was a big word. It started people calling me a leader and a visionary, and I thought, oh my God, what are they talking about? But the bottom line is that a visionary is someone that can visualize, and I've always visualized very well. NLP has helped me to visualize even bigger.
Yeah.
And to make bigger pictures and to understand the importance of making big pictures in order to, for them to push and attract you. But it is about simply self-belief and working very hard, and being able to reset. I think a lot of times people, I can't tell you how many companies I've set up in my life. I can't tell you how many times I've failed in my life. I can't tell you how many times I've had days where I wanted to dig myself in a hole and never come out again. But I've always had that sense of that the quote, I think, which is all about kind of every dark night brings you a nice and beautiful bright morning, and that's what I've done every day that I've had a really bad, terrible day. I've got up in the morning ready to fight again. I've always had this picture in my mind of being Rambo, where I put the knife in my and just go out there and I'm going to go again, because you have to keep going. A lot of people give up too easily. And when they fail, they give up, and it's just part of the process. There's no one day wonder. Elon Musk isn't a one day wonder. That man's been working very hard for many years. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, everyone's put a lot of hours in, and there's a lot of people that expect things to happen overnight. No, you have to work hard. You have to be smart. And although I may be successful as far as I've built great brands and I've done great things, I don't consider myself a successful person. I consider myself someone that, that kind of I've always pushed the boundaries. My kids probably look at me, I say that, they probably look at me like a lunatic, what is he up to now? Or what's the next project? But, I would rather them look at me like that than look at me like someone that's sitting on my sofa and giving up on life because I'm 30, 40, 50, 60, and I don't think I've got anything else to contribute. You just got to keep going. Believe in what you believe in, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't.
Look, resilience and thinking of something new and incredible and interesting. And you've done that listening to your webinar just before Christmas. Now, I'm sure we'll touch on that in a few moments. But what really makes a resilient person, because I coach people and all that, and sometimes you don't see it. You see it in them, but they don't see it in themselves. So what makes that resilient leader, that resilient person, and what sort of I would say the secret sauce, but there's no secret sauce, but what makes people do what they do?
Well, it actually in my book, and I've been talking about resilience for a long time, in my book, The Question is I talk about the 3 traits of success, and one of them is resilience. The second is revolution, which is change, and the third is reinvention. So it's the 3 R's. I believe that they're absolutely essential. And I think, if anything, they're the 3 traits that people desperately need now in this time, in this period of that we're going through so much drastic change in a very short period of time. I think people don't really realize, I know they do probably, but they don't really realize the change that is happening within a year would normally be the change that we would probably be seeing happening over 10 years, over a decade. It's concentrated in 1 year. There are so many opportunities. And although it might be tough, it's a great time to really step up. So resilience is about that. It's about never giving up. I mean, I believe obviously one of the secret sources, and as you just pointed out quite rightly, is some people don't see it themselves. It's having a coach. Everyone ideally needs a coach and a mentor. And if you can't afford one, well, look, there's hundreds and thousands of them that you should be able to afford. But if not, there's books, there's videos, there's all sorts of material there. You need someone that pushes you, someone that believes in you, someone that can see the things that you can't see in yourself. And we all need it, So the secret sauce, I think, is and resilience is simply knowing that there's more in you. And yes, you've had a bad day, but there's more in you. And and I talk about, kind of when we look at how lucky we are, in comparison to other people around the world. When you look
Yeah.
at people that live in war zones, that have to pick their family and get on a little rubber dinghy to cross the ocean, to give them a future,
Yeah.
or you have to go and find water and you've got to walk 10 miles or 3 miles to bring some water. People have phenomenal resilience, and it's only when we're really pushed that we appreciate how strong and capable we are. But we don't have to wait for those moments when life pushes up. We just have to dig deep. And I think that's kind of one of the key things. And then revolution is change. I think people see change as a bad thing. Change is necessary, and it's a good thing. And then when people start reframing change as a good thing, oh my God, this is so amazing. What's going to happen? And you start looking at, and you start asking yourself those empowering questions, which is what my book is all about. What is the positive of this? And you ask yourself empowering questions. And then reinvention is that it's never too late. I mean, the storybooks are full of people that reinvented themselves at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and have started completely new careers and come out of nowhere. So I think those are the three traits that people need, I think, in order to stand out.
I was thinking of Colonel Sanders. I think it's KFC. He was he around about 70 when he was going out with his magic recipe for chicken wings and stuff like that. But he knocked on 1,000 doors, so I remember reading somewhere. So again, it's never too late. The question I was actually thinking of while you were speaking there, when you were younger, did you have a coach or did you have a mentor? Did you have someone that inspired you just to go, well, that's what I want to be? Or did you have any help along the way?
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't really necessarily have a coach or a mentor when I was younger. I was always looking for those father figures. So I think I had that emptiness in my life because I was, I've always wanted a dad. And a lot of my partners or my bosses, which were kind of, could have been my dad. I suppose I was looking for that. So I never really did. I think if anything, covertly or having worked with Richard and having worked with Paul, I've become a modeler. I think a lot of the stuff that I've learned with NLP was modeling from the best and trying to learn the skills that I liked from people, that I identified from people that I would want to be like. But I mean, my later part of my life, one of my mentors was Sharon Lecter, who was kind of surreal because I had her book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was I read it so many times, and I remember reading that book, and all of a sudden she was my mentor. It was a very surreal moment. I was working with her for a year. I've got her phone on. I've got everyone's phones nowadays. With people I used to read, I've got all their phone numbers now. So it's pretty surreal how life can change, and how it can put you where you never thought you would be.
That's one thing that I wish I had as a kid. I wish I had in my 20s, rather than going off partying and doing this, that, and the other. But I wish I had a coach, someone that could mold me. I had an athletics coach that was a mentor of mine when I was in Essex, and sort of shaped my head when I was running. So it really sort of helped me with that at that particular age. But I wish I had a business mentor, which sort of will enable me to grow a little bit further on. But nowadays, I think we're spoiled for choice. There's so many coaches out there.
So many people, and you look. I coach and mentor people. I get a lot of people that come and ask me, but I'm surprised how few people ask me, and how few people ask me, would you work with me? Or I'm very, very surprised because kind of, I mean, the advantage I think with kind of being coached or mentored with someone like myself is I've got the platform. I've got a magazine, I've got the online Best You Online, I've got the TV, we've got events, the expo. So I think a lot of the times people are trying to do things alone. And I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of people are just trying to do things alone. I mean, I've built my business, and it's taken me years and years and years and years, and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I kind of like, when I'm looking at people trying to build their own brand and build themselves, and they're trying to do it alone, I don't understand it. It's very difficult. I think, especially now, I think if anything's going to come from this is that power of partnerships, the power of collaborations, the power of working with each other, the power of you and I, maybe if we do something together, was going to obviously be half the effort, half the work, and double the profit, and I think a lot of the times people are struggling to ask for help when they need it, or struggle to reach out. So yeah, absolutely, people should go and find a coach or a mentor, and find someone and then work with someone else.
Yeah, I think that's like I collaborate with a couple of other people, and that's really sort of helped me grow. And at the end of the phone as well, you just pick up the phone and say, "Look, I'm having a bit of a bad day. Let's have a talk about it. What do you think I should be doing?" And he said, "Oh yeah, well you do that," and go. Just good to pick up the phone and go. Either rant. I know we shouldn't be doing ranting, but sometimes you're better out than in, and at least it's out the way, and you can just move on from there. So, what do you think? How do you think sort of leaders and sales leaders in business are? What elements can they do to effectively communicate with their teams now in this remote sphere? And I want to take it from your point of view as well.
What can they do to communicate with the team?
Communicate more effectively with their team, to build motivation, to build sort of more empathy with their teams, to really understand them, and then for them to learn, and then to sort of build that within their communication with their customers as well.
Yeah,
bit of a long question.
Yeah, well, I think the challenge is and listen, I'm guilty myself. I coach and mentor, and a lot of times I don't necessarily give the love and attention to my team that I should or I would like to. I do always, make sure that I give some of them or all of them my time when need be. But I think a lot of the times is simply showing that you care, an act of kindness. I mean, a kind word can go very, very far, very, very far, and could probably buy you another year of loyalty, just by saying the right things. Appreciating people and asking them how are you, is important before you get into business. And I've discovered that over the years. I've had so many great people working for me. I've had so many great loyal people working for me. I've had some people that haven't been great, but in general I have, and a lot of the times I've regretted not being closer to them, and it's in the sphere of the moment of working of the next event, and kind of when you're in the event industry, it's very intense. It's big goals, big targets, big numbers. So we don't really have a lot of time to rest. I mean, I'm doing an expo in Miami virtually now, and 3 weeks later, I've got one in London. So, there's just really no time to rest. We just do one and then we do another. But I am careful to make sure that I do say to people that I care, that I appreciate them, that I love them, and how amazing they are. I think that goes a very long way in building the necessary bridge to connect. Steve Harcovey said, in order to understood, first you need to understand. And I think you need to build those bridges with your team, and then from then on, obviously, it's down to communication and strategy planning and so on.
Yeah, sometimes it's the social element that people miss, and having that just chat for 10 minutes. You say your meeting's at 3 and 2:45. You have 15 minutes talking about the weather and talking about football or soccer or rugby or whatever else that inspires people to have that sort of closeness and that connection, which people miss.
Especially now, as people are at home, kind of like I'm at home, I'm on my own, and kind of, I saw a human today when I went out for a little while just to get some water.
What did they look? I said, what did they look like?
Yeah, I know. So that's the thing. The thing is making sure, because a lot of people are alone. A lot of people don't actually necessarily have a family, or because they have a family, they need to speak to someone that isn't a family. So I think communication is key now, and supporting and being there for other people.
So talking about other people, but also talking about innovation. So I know that you've innovated. So how do you innovate? How do you sort of see the next thing? Because going on your webinar just before Christmas, like you've seen the vision and it's come to you and you're going, oh, let's do it. How do you do that? And what did you think when you actually did that? Because I'm really intrigued by that.
Well, I think I've always been an innovator. When I don't know, it's something that I've had since my early age. I mean, my real estate company in Spain, and I'm talking I was 27, so oh my God, it's 27 years ago. My real estate company in Spain was the first real estate in Spain, and I think the second one in Europe, that was doing video presentations with Foxtons. Foxtons was the first company to do videos on their webpage. Well, we were doing video presentations in Spanish, English, and Russian, I had my webpage translated in 3 languages, and we created our own software. It was not like now you go and buy a WordPress template. So I think it's about, for me, it's been about reading. It's been about reading and being informed. And one of the regrets that I've had, which I've learned in my late life, is to use my knowledge to invest. I'll be honest with you, I've been terrible at investing in the future because I've been so much in the now. And I'm older than Google, and I'm older than Amazon, and I'm older than all these others. And I saw them coming, and I never decided to invest in them. And I knew that they were going to be phenomenal game changers in the world and in the industry, as they have been, and so many others. So I think innovation is about reading and becoming aware of the reality around you. I know a lot of people using Zoom now. Well, I was using Zoom when Zoom came out. So you have to be current. You have to subscribe to newsletters. You have to read. You have to spending time on researching, and then you have to, based on your expertise, your knowledge, and what you've done, because obviously there's a proven track record in what you've done. For example, for me, well, I've got a proven track record in running events. Well, I realized pretty much instantly on my first virtual event, I knew that virtual events was never going to be anything like live events. And the reason being is because I knew that anyone with a Zoom account or with a Facebook page has a license to run an event. In the old days, people like me, there was only like 5 or 6 companies in the world that would do an event with more than 8 or 12,000 people like we used to do. There's only 4 or 5. There wasn't that many. Tony Robbins, Success Resources, Mind Valley, myself, and a couple of others. That's it. But now anyone could do it. So when I did and obviously, we would have 12, 15,000. But then 12, 15,000, it wasn't a success. So when I did my first virtual event and I had 5,000 people pre-register and a couple of thousand show up, for me, it wasn't good enough. But I instantly knew, I said, no, this is just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And then kind of, I've obviously been looking into TV for quite some time. I've done the research, obviously, on Netflix. I've read a lot about Netflix. I've seen the growth of Netflix. I've seen Roku. I've seen Apple. I've seen Amazon, all these guys going into this. And obviously, I've seen the growth of the online industry, education online, which has now obviously skyrocketed. So I thought, what? If I want to become a successful event promoter, I need to leave events and get into TV. Now, I'm not saying I won't go back into events, but I have no intention in getting into running big events for at least 2, if not maybe 3 years. 2 years, 3 years. Why? Because the mindset's not going to change anytime soon. You're going to struggle to get 10, 12, 15, 20,000 people in the room. And you know what? I'm not going to gamble on that. I'm sure people will, but at the moment they don't. And I think, and so I instantly saw that we have to adapt to the new reality. And the new reality is, guess what? You might want me to come and attend your event online, but guess what? I'm going to have a cup of tea, or I'm going to stay at home and watch because there's 1,000 events being on live right now, Facebook, Instagram, and everything else. So it's about being on demand. So for me, I instantly knew that we needed to be innovators, and that's why I'm taking the whole company now towards TV and being there on TV and becoming hopefully one of the leaders in the personal development world on television, on demand, letting people watch it live if they wanted to. But, people don't watch television like we used to when, you and I were like 14 or 15 or 16 when you had to be at 6:00 on Friday because there wasn't even a video player. You had to watch it there and then or you couldn't watch it. So innovation is about reading, being informed, understanding the new realities, and then making your own decisions and then following them through.
Yeah, no, that's really good because you can really be static in this world. And there's certain companies out there that you could get a video, rent a video, but they never Blockbuster. They never sort of innovated because they just had it in that mindset there, that fixed mindset that things weren't going to change. But then obviously Netflix came along and sort of creeped underneath and they saw the vision. And that's a good thing to do. So you have to pivot. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you've done. So tell me this. It's a question that I like to ask. If you had a magic pill that transforms you and gave you a superpower for 5 minutes, what would you use it for? And how would you use it?
If I had a superpower for 5 minutes.
5 minutes. I don't want to give it for you forever. It's
Oh, okay. Well, all right then. It depends if you gave me time to plan, because then I want to be maybe selfish and fly and go up to the moon and have a look at the planet from up there and come back down. But if I had a superpower, I think I would really want to. I would really want to, with my superpower, is ignite something in people's minds and in people's heads that there's enough wealth in the world, for all of us to live extremely well, and for everyone to be educated, and that there's no need for all this madness, greed, buying possessions and owning things that people have now. I think what the world needs is that they need to appreciate that there's enough on the planet that we don't need to kill each other. We don't need to and love, kind of with everything that I've done in personal development, with all the people I've worked and all the people I've promoted, in all the subjects that I've helped people with. I think ultimately it's all about love. I think kind of we're all on this journey on rushing and running and trying and doing and being, and what we want is to love and be loved. Ultimately that's what we want. We don't want to be alone at home, and we don't want to be dying alone, and we don't want to be never loved by anyone. We're always looking for that. So everything else that in the middle and in the process of that is very superficial. I've gone through a lot of change in my life in the last 12 years, and I've done a lot of change in this last couple of years. And one of the things that it's actually happening to me, and it's happened because I don't know, the universe has thrown things at me that I wasn't expecting. I've gone very minimalistic as far as I've got very little clothes now. Actually, I had some stuff in the storage, and well, basically they stole it. So pretty much all my possessions I had has gone. I had some possessions with me because I was traveling around Europe on a motorbike, but I lost some on the motorbike as well. I lost my shoes and stuff like that. So I have very few things now, and you know what? It's a beautiful thing, and I think that when reading and watching a lot of these documentaries around being minimalistic, is that we don't need that much, and I experienced that and seen that with my mum. My mum passed away this year, which was
I'm sorry to hear
last year. It's actually passed away in January. It's nearly a year now. It's unbelievable. And it was very tough for me, but my mum was one of those that loved to collect things, and she had so many things. And there she is. She's gone, and all her possessions are left behind. She can't take anything with her. She couldn't take anything with her. And we're all the same. So we collect and collect and collect, and we don't need it. And then it just doesn't help the environment. We're just literally killing the planet. And we're destroying the planet. So we really need to get our priorities right. So if I want the best you to become the biggest brand in personal development, is to educate people around the best you. First of all, you're obliged to become the best version of yourself, the best human being possible, because the best you will help create a better world. And that's what it's all about. Personal professional growth has to be what holds the flag of change, of really creating awareness of the important things in life. And it isn't money, and it isn't possessions.
Yeah, you're right. And it's feeding forward as well. So the gifts that you're giving is feeding forward to someone else and feeding forward to someone else. That's exactly why I'm doing this. So I can hopefully feed forward some really wonderful golden nuggets of great knowledge that you've given and other people as well. But hopefully it will inspire other people to just do something like yourself, or even go to your event or do something else like that. So look, I really, really appreciate giving your wonderful time in the beautiful sunshine of south of Spain. I'm very jealous, but
well, it's actually a little bit grey here today, but it's been beautiful now. But yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you very much. You've been listening to the Global Sales Leader podcast with your host, Jason Cooper. If you want to find out more information, for the audio listeners, Bernardo, would you like to tell how they can find out more about yourself?
No, I don't actually. No, Jason, I'm only joking. Yes, of course. I said, oh, well done. you know, I'm only joking. It's funny. You don't never have to tell an American that. I love the Americans, hey guys. I love you all. But you never have to tell an American. They're always quick there for the plug. And I'm terrible at that. But anyway, it's thebeststew.co, thebeststew.co.co. That's the brand. You can see all our portfolios of everything that we do. The TV, the Best Stew Online, the Best Stew Expos. And then, yeah, my webpage is bernardo-moya.com. There's not a lot of Bernardo Moyas. I'm all over the bloody internet, excuse my French. And so, you know, but I've got lots of resources and lots of things that we give away, and I'd love to help and support in any way that I can. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Joseph.